Welcome, friends, fans, and fellow adventurers. Your Rolling with Advantage has landed you here at D4&After. I'm your host, Ross Lee, and tonight I am joined by Jacob Plicque, who plays the lovable kobold Blergh, and one of our fabulous co-DMs, Dustin. Fair warning, this episode will contain major spoilers for episode 143 and episode 144, potentially earlier as well. So just a heads up, you've been warned. A few housekeeping notes. If this is your first time with us, these shows are pre-recorded. If you have questions, please submit them via the D4 Discord on the D4&After Questions channel by Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. We do our best to try to get to every question, but sometimes due to time constraints, we might not be able to. If your question wasn't asked or wasn't answered, feel free to tag us in the Discord, tag the person who you were asking, and if they have time if time allows, maybe they'll be able to answer it for you there. These shows are Friday at 9. You're here. It's Friday at 9.
Yay!
And the VOD will be available for Patreon members the following week. So that's all the housekeeping out of the way. Without further ado, let's get into it. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Jacob.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
So glad you're
excited
here.
to chat. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, let's do it.
So
all right.
So glad.
Yeah. So I've got to just start out of the gate with asking the question that I'm sure is going to be no surprise to you. In fact, it's across. You may not be able to see it on the overlay because of how we got it. The viewers may not be able to see it, but right above his head, you can probably see part of it. All right. Where did the Duuuuvvvvaaaal come from?
There you go. Yeah,
and obviously, I'm
absolutely.
Not sure
you did it right.
No,
you did do it right. You did it right. Everyone, it's 2 syllables, couple D's, a hell of a lot of U's, and then dash VAAAL, but lots of V's and stuff like that. So yeah, that's how you do it. So it actually starts out, and something that I find really interesting is like people yell it without actually like. Because it's first of all, it's just fun to yell stuff, especially if it's 2 syllables. Let's be
absolutely.
Honest. And it actually started out because of the fact that Jacksonville, Florida, which is where I live, is surrounded by Duval County, and it actually started out as an R&B station, kind of call out. You know how remember when we listened to radios, and they would, before they cut to a song, they would do a little blip and a call sign of what the station is, and they would. Yeah. That's how it started, and then eventually that became a rallying cry, and the Jacksonville Jaguars took it as a thing. It's actually specifically trademarked to them with 1 D, 3 U's, 1 V, 1 A, 1 L. Which is really interesting. That would not be my particular version because mine has a lot of U's and V's, but that's a lot of money, and so whatever. But yeah, that's how it started. And then I sort of decided to, when I was putting together a Twitter account, I was just thinking about what am I and who am I, and this is also around the time that Skyrim came out, so Dovahkiin, right? And I was Duval King, all right. So Duval King Jacob, which is my Twitter handle, and it just kind of became an accidental blessing of branding.
I love it. I love it so much. It's serendipitous things like that are just. You can't plan for it, and it's amazing when it happens,
Agreed. Yeah, absolutely. That's why I think I was so surprised that it sort of found its own niche within the TTRPG community, even though most of these people don't even know what Jacksonville is. So it's pretty wild.
I mean, there are, I'm sure, people who think that your name is Duval and don't even realize
a lot of people do. Yeah. Right.
I was one of those when I first met you. I thought your name was Duval. And I was like, oh, your name's Jacob? Oh, shit. All right, cool. And then,
which is funny because my name is in my Twitter handle.
100%. It's so fun. And yeah, I mean, which is even funny because I'm I'm a huge sports fan as well. And I'm a big Falcons fan. And the fact that I never caught on that it was actually a Jacksonville Jaguars call out makes it even more fun. That I'm just.
It is funny.
It makes and as soon as I realized it, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that fits.
The puzzle pieces are there. You just
gotta
go
there. Yeah, we're gonna put it together.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome. So, Blergh, you brought Blergh into us.
I sure did.
It was a fabulous journey with that character across 2 episodes. So grateful that you could be here with us. Tell us a little bit about where the inspiration for Blergh came from.
Sure.
And just walk us through that process a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So he actually started out as a as always, like a kernel, an idea, right? And I'd been playing a lot of heroic characters and your classic sort of edgelordy dark somethings or whatever's, and I was like, let me do something like really, really different. And I also was at the time really wanting to be a selfish note, really wanting to be seen as like a player, like someone to be frankly like cast in shows and stuff like that, right? And so in my mind I was like, well, a good way to do that is to show some range, right? And he actually started out in a small private one shot, and ironically with Goblin Katie and D.D. Jordan Lee, and which is amazing to think about. And this is also right after the fact that in a small campaign, that channel that doesn't even exist anymore, I played about 4 or 5 episodes of an Icewind Dale campaign with Goblin Katie, Deanie Jordan Lee, and someone by the name of Devin Henderson. So I don't even know. Never heard of him, right?
Doesn't sound familiar.
I know, right? That fucking guy. But I remember specifically thinking, damn, like this guy is like really talented, and like and I was starting to really understand like what table chemistry really is, you know? And like, because Devin, of course, is very busy, so he was in and out of that game. So he would be in that game like every like other episode or whatever. But of course, in true Devin fashion, he would drop some bombs, and then we'd have to deal with them like as he was gone. And like, what did I miss? Which actually has nothing to do with this character Corvan, who you may have heard him named in previous D4 episodes. And I was just like, oh shit! Like our Icewind Dale campaign's canon. What the hell? So. But all at the same time, while I was trying to put all these pieces together, I was, and I mentioned earlier about like, you know, all these dark secrets and things like that. It's like, what if you have a character that is just joy incarnate? And though he has some dark secrets, there are things that he doesn't know. And then I started to think about, because for as dark as it sounds, like, and trauma, like enumerates a lot of the things that you do and decisions that you make. What if there's a character that experienced trauma, but that trauma was removed from him and he doesn't even know it? And so that's where, and we'll talk about Tolos for sure in a second, but that's where like his Brotherhood of Redemption stuff comes in and things like that. So just a bunch of little pieces that I needed to kind of put together. And that's how Blergh's sort of born, if you will.
That's awesome. That's really deep. So obviously Blergh has been in a couple different areas at this point. How has that journey been for you to go from like a couple different games with that character? And I don't know if you have an answer for this question, but like, is it the same Blergh, or is it like, you know, the multiversal Blergh, multiversal different versions of Blergh?
Oh boy, yes, yes.
First 2 Blergh.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, and this is a question that someone asked me, like even like during when the One Wakanda live show was airing, which is like Tolos, which is where he's from, like is like its own, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's its own like thing. It's its own like plane, and there are no like extra planar connections out to Faerun or Greyhawk or whatever. And it's like, so how the hell did you get out of there? And I was just like, Callista happened. And so because Callista was in Tolos, there has to be something. And so in my mind, it's really easy for, if he's got a lot of resources in the Brotherhood of Redemption and the Delvers Guild and stuff like that, he would eventually with time find something. And especially since he's trying to help her go home. And I think in the way I kind of put it together, because when I played him in Tolos, he was level 5, and of course on D4 is level 11. And so I was kind of talking to Dustin and Devin about this. I was just like, that's a lot of probably like time and energy that he could have utilized that. And I also played him in a couple of one shots. I'm actually not weirdly, but like really protective of him because he's very naive. And so like there are ways to play with that naivete really, really well, and there's also ways that that's just like not super fun at all. Like, for example, his conversation with the Archfey, and of course, like Harold's over there like being very careful, and he's just like, "This is my name, and like I don't like I'm like you seem really pretty," and of course, like Jacob is just like, "This was a bad idea, but this will be fun sometime down the line, eventually," because I thought about the fact that like, especially as blood hunters, they have like advantage on a bunch of different information with like fays, fiends, and like undead and stuff like that. But considering he's from Tolis, he would never have met or learned any information about the Fae. And I was just like, oh, that's a really interesting like way to fail, if you will, and just play with that a little bit. But yeah, so and he's been to Faerun before. There was I was in like a charity like all kobold one shot. And I love the idea of like there being like your classic sort of like for lack of a better term, more feral variations and like folks that have been underground the whole time. And like I think someone made the joke about Chris Perkins' character on Critical Role like 11 days. And I'm like he's 8 years old actually. Like he's got a longer life expectancy than you think. And so that with like Callista essentially blowing a hole in like existence, that's kind of all how it all came together. So I was like, yeah, he's the same old Blergh in all these games. I think there was another question there, but I forgot what it was because I have ADHD.
That was it. It is the multiverse. It is the multiverse hopping, now the multiverse version of Blergh. So
yes.
All right, that's awesome. I love when folks are able to lean into that a little bit, just because of the connections it gives with everyone in the tabletop community, and how not only can you build bridges there, but it also you get to share that experience of that same character with everyone, and the joy that Blergh brings is just off the charts. So there's that too.
Yeah, that was actually a side effect I don't think I expected, because like I figured, like think about it from like a toxic positivity perspective, right? Like there, like that will get annoying and like potentially like harmful in many cases, right? But I don't think that he has the capacity to like not mean what he says, because he doesn't like have like
there's an innocence around him.
100%. Absolutely. And so like even like because I remember when we were about to go live for Tolos episode 1, and by the way, shout out to the one and only Jeffrey N. Baker, who is an amazing DM and you should hire him. Plug. And he was just like, yeah, like I'm gonna start with you, and like it's gonna be he's never been in the city before, let's go. And like he's like holding up a sign, like it's misspelled everything, and he's just like trying not to have an anxiety attack and like just like go for it. And like that's, you know, kind of where he starts, and that's kind of why he is what he is. Like I remember even at the live show, like he was really surprised at how fast the BFGs like took to him, because he's so used to like as a dungeon coach having to like sell himself and then like watch this and then 2 natural 20s, because actually I gotta show off this dice that was like absolutely ridiculous. If it will let me. Yeah, there it is.
Oh, that's
this
gorgeous.
Guy here. Yeah,
nice.
he's a pretty boy. Like I was just like, oh, okay, we're playing with portals, literally. Let's do it. And so like I remember thinking like when specifically when Karina was like, okay, cool, and then like you just like we went off, and it was just like roll credits, like here we let the adventure begin, you know.
What was that like for Blergh to experience that? Because I know you touched on that. I'm jumping ahead a little bit here.
Yeah, totally.
You touched on that a little bit in the next episode, in 144, and how that had been just unique for Blergh. Elaborate on that a little bit more. And what that felt like for him, and then for you as a player to have that happen so quickly for your character.
Yeah, wild. Because like so first of all, to roll back the curtain a little bit, I did not know about the cannonball situation until Dustin and Devin said it. And so I was just like, okay. that's a hell of an entrance. Like, I don't know if you could beat that. Like, I ain't mad about it at all. Whatsoever. Let's go. He would 100% like. This is sure. I forgo my saving throw. I don't even know what that is. You just want me to climb in? So like, not even a big deal, right? Like, wouldn't it be concerned at all? And so I think because I remember it got like hot and heavy. Like hot and heavy. That sounds awful. It started quickly, right? And I also what's fun is I was Ellie told me the night before. Even though she had no idea that I was coming on at all, like we were just talking about kobolds in general, and she was talking about like the kobold under the sink that she told in the show, and I was just like, "You're not ready for what's about to happen tomorrow," and awesome. So it was super awesome. But yeah, so like I knew I had that in my back pocket, but I didn't know like how that would actually like resonate at the table per se. Yeah. But I think it was the first time where he was just like he was caught off guard because like he didn't have to like because he's so used to like people like ignoring him or not necessarily walking over him, but not really like seeing his value. And so then they were like, oh my God, like you're really cool and like you almost like knocked us out with like your physical being as you are this itty bitty like black scaled kobold thing, cannonball so and so, and then. As a player, I was just like, "Oh shit! Like this is all we're like." Because I was again kind of similarly like, not that I felt like I had to sell myself from as like a player, but like I wanted to sort of like just show off like because I'll put it this way: as I'm sitting there waiting for me to come on at some other point, whatever it was, I knew in my hearts that whatever was going to happen, like I was going to nail it. Like I just like I'm a really confident person, and like whatever it is, like let's just do it and like just have a good time. Especially as it's a live show, like let's just like have a good time and like whether it's improv or something prepared or whatnot, right? So for and like I don't even like it feels like in a good way like I blacked out in that moment because I was just like. Like Jacob just disappeared. I'm fortunate enough to I think what's weird is I've only played him really in like 8 or 9 games. But like we're like really like it sounds weird to say, but like I don't care. I feel really connected to him. Like he is my fucking son. Like he is my son, damn it. And I love him very much.
So it sounds like from your perspective, even just being the player in this instance, like if I'm hearing you correctly, that was just unique and super cool. So no doubt. So plus, Dustin, I think also like contextually, just as a quick note, like we talked about me coming on D4 like in October. Like it was long. It was a long time ago, and like it was never like, oh my God, it'll happen in like 2 months. It was always just like when it fits, and then
I think it was because I think that was like the first time that we realized that you were in Jacksonville.
Right.
Like, it was like you're close.
Right. I actually think the conversation was like, oh man, I wish you were closer, and I was like, I am.
East Coast, Beast Coast.
Beast Coast. And I was like, oh, well, shit. Well, this needs to happen, and it was just like, all right, well, whenever you're in Atlanta, it's going to happen. And it just so happened, it was like, you were like, oh, by the way, I'm coming to MomoCon. And I was like, live show, want to play?
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
The conversation was amazing. So like, I do not prepare like anything at all in my life. Like I am a with the exception of like my like dream trip to Japan like 4 years ago, like I don't plan anything. I have had 3 characters ready since October. Canonical reasons for them to be there. But all that went out the window when Dustin called me. It was like, do you want to play Blergh? And I was just like, yes, I do. Let's go.
Yeah. And love it. The reason that I wanted to play Blergh, one, I would die for that character, and I love Blergh through and through. Ever since you first opened your mouth on Tolis, which we'll get to, but sure. it was because Blergh had that connection to Callista, and Callista already had a canonical reason or a canonical connection to D4 because Callista is from my home game that I ran before D4 started, and it's already been referenced and all of that, and so there was already that connection there to bring you in, and automatically having that, perfect, like, oh, hey, if it gets brought up, then you already have that. It's like, oh, yeah, she's from Faerun. She's from this Faerun. She's from our D4 canon Faerun. She's already been referenced before. And, it was definitely just like, okay, yeah, it definitely should
be the right
call. Yeah, it's the right one. And, Blergh is just the best, most sweet cinnamon bun there is. And
we love him.
Yeah, and also, I mean, the BFGs had just been through hell and back, and
no doubt.
And it was like, you know what? And Blergh is gonna bring a little bit of levity and light to them that they absolutely need right now. And it was like, we're gonna hit you with not only a live show, but we're gonna throw you into the Feywild. It's just gonna be a fun, chaotic, crazy time, and then we're gonna give you a cinnamon roll to just make you smile and laugh, and
exactly.
And then you show up and roll 2 natural 20s and, just decimate
Jesus
everything.
Christ.
Decimate everything.
Ridiculous.
Literally everything.
Oh my God. Yeah. Like, that was pretty mind blowing.
That was great.
It was great. Cause I remember I watched the Till in the last episode before, and I was just like, oh, honeys, let me give you some Blergh. Like, let me give you some Blergh medicine. Like, oh boy.
Yeah.
And because I remember thinking specifically, like, oh my God, so we got to talk about this too. So right before we go live for the live show, of course, like, I don't pop in until, I don't know, like an hour in or something like that. So I meet Ethan for the very first time. And I had been posting in some Duuuuvvvvaaaal Dragon stuff, which is my Chrono Trigger D&D campaign, in the Self Promo channel in the Discord. And I had no idea that he had been like looking into it and watching it. He was like, dude, like, you're like, I'm a really big fan of this. And I was like, well, dude, I'm a really big fan of you. He has no idea that an hour from now, I'm about to blow his fucking mind.
I love it.
So when you watch that portion of me coming up there, it is like an absolutely like true blue reaction, no doubt. It was great.
So Dustin, why did you guys decide to keep it a secret from the players? You don't always, but why this time?
Because it was the live show, and I wanted that true reaction. I am a big. I mean, anybody who has had any conversation with me and anything knows I live on reactions. I love that genuine in the moment. It's why I like to keep things from the player as well as the character, because I want that reaction to be true, whether it's fear, sadness, surprise, whatever. I love that moment, and it's just it's such a fun moment because like I said, Jacob was hanging out with us most of the weekend. He was there in the audience, and they had no idea. And
I love it.
The other reason is I knew Goblin Katie wasn't going to be there, and if she knew that I was going to bring Jacob on to the live show, she would have murdered me.
Yeah, you would have been murdered live on.
And so, it even came to the point where, like, we didn't tell her after it happened. Like, nobody mentioned anything to her.
Nope.
Even to the point where she was watching live and was like, I have to go. And I was like, oh, well, we're not even going to tell you what happens later. And it was, but I'm so glad that we got to bring Jacob back for a second episode in studio, and you got to play with Goblin in person and really got to sit at the table because the live show is amazing, but it's to actually like bring you into the studio, show you what we do in the studio, sit around the table. It's really, it's a whole different experience. The live show in itself brings its own energy that you never get anywhere but at a live show.
Yeah.
Especially when you make the audience part of the show, which is something we had never done before, ever. Like, that was our first time playing around with that.
Right.
And being able to literally have you come in, sit at the table, experience the set, the ambient music, the voice modulator, all of that fun stuff. It was just
it was fun.
Yeah,
it was super
stuff
cool.
that we didn't get to do at the live show. just due to the restraints of being in a live show and
No doubt.
doing that aspect. It was just incredible, and I knew that the reaction that we were gonna get from doing the canon, getting to scream Duval, and then
I was also surprised. Did not know that was going to happen either.
Yep. And then
like,
getting to invite him on to stage, getting the live audience reaction as well as the cast reaction was just, it's what it's for. Like that's what I live for is those wow moments, and that's why we kept it a secret, is to have that wow moment.
I will say, credit where credit's due. One person I believe figured it out, which is Rhea. And it's because of the fact, I'll never forget it, because Dustin was very clearly trying to non-verbally communicate with me, because Dustin was like shaking like a dice box and like essentially asking me if I needed one. And I had a dice tray already, or a dice tray. Yeah, I had one already. And so he's essentially just like, dude, and I was just like, no, I'm good. And I pan to my left and I just see her go, and I just wink. And I was just like, damn it, like she knows, but it's fine. Like,
yeah. I mean, Rhea is very observant. She tends to figure things
really
out.
Is. It was hilarious though.
She's my cousin. I mean, I literally have sculpted her, been there since, taught her how to play D&D. There's a reason why she's on the show. She was in that same Rage of Demons campaign with Callista, where she played
I did not know that.
a dwarven cleric. Yeah. She tells you she's on the show because she's easy to make cry. That's not true. I mean, it might be one of the reasons, but it's because she's phenomenal. She's a phenomenal role player. She's really a phenomenal improver, and I mean, but she's brilliant when it comes to puzzles. She's brilliant when it comes to figuring out those little subtle clues. Unless it's like blatant, then it's like right over. It has no idea
over their head. Yeah, that's
subtle,
me too. I'm the same way.
You put it like in between the lines where you have to really gets it all the way, and so it doesn't surprise me that Rhea figured it out and clocked that and was like,
no, man, it was hilarious. It was like the perfect timing too.
Yeah.
The other thing, speaking of the going in the studio, I did not know that was going to happen until maybe 20 minutes after we were offline at MomoCon, and I was just like, yeah, see you next week, suckers.
Yep, love it.
That was really cool. So yeah, and I know I've said it a million times. It legitimately a dream come true. Both episodes.
Well, I know we on the production side were grateful to have you in studio, as well as at the live show. Dustin, I did want to hit on one more thing before we move off from the live show. Designing one shots is hard. Designing a whole story arc within that's not really a one shot because it's canon for a live show is even harder. How do you guys do that? And then two, I did want to ask, because that was the first time that we've done active audience participation in that fashion. Like we've done stuff for like charity stuff where audience can participate and donate and that kind of influence, but actively involving the crowd. Did that make you nervous?
It go back to the first part, designing it. I mean, we sat down, we were like, okay, we have a live show. We have a couple, we know we have a player who can't make it. So how do we make this fit? And we were talking, and like literally the episode before the live show, V had drank Fey tequila, which the effects of that is it allows you to see into the Feywild, and just like on a whim, I was like, I'm gonna put the Witchlight Carnival in Waterdeep in the Feywild, and so just so you can start seeing that, we can have some fun interactions there. It was only a bit for that, like supposed to be that thing, and then we started talking. I was like, what if we send them into the Feywild, and what if we send them into the Carnival? And it was, and then we can have a fun interaction with Harold's patron, because he's an archfey, and we can really kind of deal with that, and he can be the reason why they get there. So that's way how we can explain of how it happens and how they get there. And then it was like, well, what do we do with the live show? And it was like, well, what if we do improv D&D in a D&D game? And that's 100% what it was. And because we were hanging out with Mark. We were talking to Mark, and we were just talking about improv D&D, because he was actually in town doing improv D&D at Dad's Garage while we were doing improv D&D at the live show. And so one of the big things about improv D&D is audience participation, where you literally ask, hey, give us a wandering monster, give us a setting, give us, a terrain type, things like that. And they're like, okay, well, let's just really flex our improv muscles and let's just make it up as we go along. And it didn't really make me nervous because I thrive on that. Devin, on the other hand, that was
clear because you definitely did.
He says that he's not a good improver, but when he
that's not true.
Allows himself to step away from his writing and let himself loose, he's phenomenal. Mm-hmm. And so I was all about it because I knew it would allow him to flex that muscle that he says he's not good at, which is complete and utter bullshit because he's phenomenal.
Yes, he is.
But it was just a lot of fun to literally be like, what are you going to be? And I mean, we had an entrance that was the mouth of an alligator, and we're like,
Jesus Christ, that was so weird.
Here we are.
Oh, weird.
We're going to, your toys. Okay, I guess we're in a toy store. Toy store, right? Well, I guess your toys. Let's have fun with that. Let's go full Toy Story,
Man, y'all set me up for the easy Grand Slam of Blergh being a Care Bear. So easy.
And that's the great thing about improv and yes and. I mean, that entire
100%.
Encounter was yes and. Like, we 100% were yes anding everything, and it was like, cool, let's do it. Tell us what kind of toy you are. And we will roll with it because it's Fae, it's illusion. It doesn't matter. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be great.
Yep. Exactly.
And it was just a lot of fun. Like, we knew the basis. We were like, okay, we want it to be a story about the Fae court of the summer and the winter courts, and showcasing and giving a little tease to the Queen of Air and Darkness, and teasing some backstory there, or a little bit of lore there, and then we knew that we wanted to include the Jabberwock as a thing that they're gonna fight, and that was it. Like, that was all we had. Everything else was 100% audience participation and what they described and came up with.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that was
audience participation.
Yep.
Did that make you nervous?
Again, I went into it knowing that it was going to be ridiculous because it's audience participation. I had no idea what was going to be, thrown out at us. The great thing about audience participation is, you're going to get multiple things, and so if someone tries to be vulgar, you can just go with another option, or you can go with the vulgar one depending on what we're doing, But knowing what to, I knew it was going to get wild. I knew it was going to get it was just going to be just intensely just off the wall, I think is the thing. And so, I mean, there is a little bit of nervousness there, I think, just in general, because it was our first live show in 3 years. 2 years, something like that. I think 2019 was our last. So
wow.
Dragon Con 2019, I believe, was our last live show. If I remember correctly, maybe that was 2018. I don't even remember. Nope. I don't even remember. Maybe it was 2019. That's the
before times. It doesn't matter.
The before Benini times. So I was more nervous and anxious on the technical producer side of things, and not necessarily the DM side of things, because that I knew. But it was well, we're in a new space, we're in a new convention center where we don't know what we've got going on. Luckily we're pre-recording, we're not doing it live, so how is it gonna go?
To stream anyway,
or live streaming? We're not live streaming it, but should I say? And so it was more along those lines. And once I let those jitters get out, luckily we have a phenomenal production team, literally some of the best, and literally killed it. We had really impressive. No time to set up, and we're able to get everything set up, get going, and it was a huge success.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I mean, I gotta throw it to our sound mixer, Alex, who is recently joined us, and he crushed it at that live show, because I thought that it was going to be just like we were gonna have to do a lot of post editing and stuff like that. But he mixed that thing to we didn't do anything. It was perfect. It was great.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
It was really good.
Yeah.
So
Alex is an adorable human.
I love Alex. I love Alex so much. I'm so glad that we have gobbled him up, and he is now 100% in the D4 family, and we're never letting him go.
That's it.
Never letting him go, Alex. Ever.
I love that you guys are willing to embrace something new, even though the challenge can be scary, whether it's playing with people you've never played before on the player side, or DMing for an audience that you're involving in a brand new way that could go completely sideways. I think that's one of the things I appreciate, that you guys are, on the DM side at least, willing to constantly push yourselves and push your players to explore those things. So we did get a few questions. I want to go ahead and dive into some of those. Okay. So Mama Strange asked,
hey, Mama Strange.
And this is for you, Jacob. This is obviously a character you like to play.
A little bit.
What makes them resonate so much for you?
I actually think one thing that is always interesting with, I think, everyone, especially in this space, is everyone sort of deals with imposter syndrome. It's not that like it doesn't exist. It's just what the vibe of it is today, right? And so like Blergh doesn't even know what that is, even though how he reacts to things is based off of that. And like, let me over explain this situation or this room that we're going to in, or the dungeoneering skill that I'm using, when it's just like, even though it happened because we were like way past times, like, it's Blergh, you found the secret room, but that like totally, like, it makes perfect sense, right? And so to kind of bring it back around to the initial like question, is I sort of realized as like I'm playing Blergh that like I'm sort of almost like putting out like, I'm like outputting my own imposter syndrome, like imprinting that onto him. And then, which kind of ties into my point I made earlier of like, I'm so like, I'm very happy about the reaction that he gets from people, whether we're at the table or an audience. But it's like really surprising to me because of the fact that like it's that like it could come off as like annoying or like, you know, this is all he is. Like he's just this little like positive cinnamon roll. There's not more to him, which there is. Which I kind of we tied into. I sort of hinted at it a little bit in the second episode of like, there are things I just don't know, but they don't fucking matter, you know. You know, he didn't say it like that because he's way nicer than me. Who's nicer than Blergh, honestly. And so it's like it's just like utter like adoration and appreciation, like. And so, which I think is why I'm protective of him so much, because I'm just like, oh man, like, you know, like it could go with the wrong character or player, it could go like sideways. What's funny about that, speaking of that, is I met when I was up in Atlanta, I met one Patrick Logan of Voss fame, and I literally the minute 4 of knowing each other's existence, I pitched a Voss Blergh one shot. And he was just like, I don't, well, let me do it correctly. I don't think that he would even know what a kobold is. And I was just like, that's probably fair. You might kill him on sight. One way to find out. So it's worth a shot, as they say.
The buddy cop thing that everyone wants next. That's the next one.
I would totally love the idea of like, your swashbuckler, like your rapier game is like, like I can help you with that. He's just like, fuck off.
I mean, it's only uphill from here from the last
right.
Yeah.
It feels great. Yeah, exactly. I think that answers the question. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
her follow-up to that was, do you play them differently with different groups, or is it the same? And I think you touched on that a bit, but I mean, it's just building blocks of like, because one of the sort of the memes that came out of Tolis
was he was talking about like friendship, and the NPC asked him like, well, "How many friends do you have?" And he goes, "2." And now it's just like, but he said it like so proudly, you know, like I have two whole friends, what, 2, and but like I was thinking about it even at the table, it didn't come up specifically like the numbers of it, but like he's blown away by like, oh my god, like I think I have like 20 like friends and like people that care about me, and like not just people that like pay me to like dungeon coach, which is why he ended up giving that person a platinum, because he doesn't spend any money and he's level 11, so he's got a fucking shit ton of it. So I was just like, sure, blip, done. And so it's just building blocks, because he's just like super appreciative of like the attention that like people even like give him or like respect him. I mean, the irony is he doesn't understand, like, so we joked about the natural 20s and like his just being a ridiculously good shot and having a fuck ton of damage. That
so much
doesn't even like, because I think we counted like over 100 damage in like one round of combat. That doesn't even like compute for him, because what he was focused on was like, I'm sorry that I killed you, Jabberwock, and like you don't deserve to be redeemed, douchebag monster thing. Like it doesn't even like, even though like the things that we do as people and the skills that we have, like there's a lot of value in that, and like people derive like that value in you and like the people that are around you. He doesn't see it that way. He's just like, well, it sucks that I had to like kill this thing because like you're trying to kill my new friend, and so you gotta go.
Yeah, I love that the innocence around Blergh extends even to the way he approaches that combat, and that it's just putting his whole self into it, whether that is for a improv Feywild live D&D while playing D&D, or bottom of a secret cult hideout protecting his friends. Like, he gives it his all, no matter what.
It's all he knows how to do. It's ironic too, because like, you know, every time Dustin's been like singing that swan song, like obviously like describe it to me, and like my adrenaline is like in those moments is just like off the charts. So and also like they're arrows, so like it's more like where do you place them, and then like I even thought about it later. I'm like, you could have described with the radiant energy and stuff like that, but like he's so focused, and I'm so focused on like what he's thinking and like how much he hates this, even though he's really fucking good at it. Like he just hates it, and so like he just like tunnel visions and like comes out of that, which is why like I think I even told Dustin, I was just like, when I don't even remember saying like freedom is for everyone. Like I don't even remember saying that at all. Like I was just like so like locked the fuck in, because that's essentially like that's his flag, right? Yeah. Like people that look like me deserve to all the same shit that all these selfish douchebags have, right? And so like that's all he's thinking about, and he feels like so garbage for this Jabberwock. I didn't even know like the stats of or like the fact that it was a dragon or anything like that until like 2 weeks later, and I was like, oh fuck, I think that's the first time you killed a dragon. Oh fuck, okay.
Love it so much. Dustin, so shifting gears a little bit, the Archfey interactions, like obviously you talked a little bit about, this would be a great way to tie Harold's character into the Archfey, that gets them to the Feywild. How is it playing a character like the Archfey, where it's that deal, always goes back to the deals thing, and especially an Archfey who's not evil. They may not be good, they're just kind of,
I mean, I think
they're there,
they're Fey.
I mean,
they're Fey.
It's 100%. Definitely one of the things that Devin and I wanted to do with them is to showcase just how weird Fey are, you know. And it's not evil, I mean, it is true neutral in its entirety, because it is, I will give you this boon, but I want to do this really outlandish thing in return, or I want you to get me these things that are just absurd and make no sense. Much like the deal that Harold made, where he literally sold his true name for a hat.
Yep.
Like, it's that, and that's kind of what we wanted to showcase of what this Archfey, what them is about, and it is that just that change, that constant shifting of not just emotions, but it is of a caterpillar becoming a butterfly, which is why he, when we created him and when we described his look, their look, it was very much taking insects and flowers and fauna, and flora, and just kind of merging them into one and making a creature based on that is very insectoid, but also very floral in its descriptions, to where it's just weird. Where we definitely knew we wanted them to be non-binary. We wanted them to be genderless. We wanted them to look very alien. It's why we decided to try and use the voice modulator, because we wanted their sound to just be alien in nature and just not make sense. And the way that they speak, the way that they act, the way that the things that they do is just completely, it's supposed to not make sense. But also, they are very Fey and everything, like true Fey.
So Fey.
So very Fey in their deal making and what you say. You have to be careful what you say around them, because if you say it the wrong way, then they will take everything literal, and if you say the wrong thing, then that is a deal, and that has been, and you have accepted their deal. It's why, and Vinley left a present for them, and that may or may not come back to haunt them in the end, because that is in all intents and purposes, a debt that they owe for gifting a gift. And Fae don't tend to like to owe people favors, especially if they're not out on top on those favors.
Right? Oh yeah.
So it goes to I personally love the Fae. I love the stories. I love I'm very, very much into the Tuatha De Danann and Celtic mythology and things like that, and really delving into what it means to deal with the Fae, and how it's like they tell you 3 times it's true. They don't necessarily lie, but they very much they use the truth to manipulate. But if they tell you the same thing 3 times, for a fact that okay, they are 100% serious about this, and aspects like that we wanted to really delve into and showcase that it's like, yes, Harold's patron is weird, but they're not evil. They're not, their agenda isn't like, I'm gonna rule the world. So, it also showcases Harold like, hey, you've been through a lot. You have sacrificed a lot as a character. Yeah, we're not going to pour gasoline over you and light this fire based on this deal. Now that you have sold your soul to this Archfey, and they're now your patron. It's not Averin anymore. And so we wanted to showcase, hey, there is boons to this of being a warlock. It's not just warlock abilities. We wanted to be like, here's a few options of things that you could do, and it was just a lot of fun to really showcase that and utilize this story arc to really put Harold in front of them, instead of just teasing through like reflections and things like that.
Yeah. So did Blergh accidentally make a deal?
God, I hope the answer is yes, because that was as a player, that's 100% what I want the answer to be. To be very fucking clear.
I mean, Blergh definitely said some things.
You did
that Blergh probably shouldn't have said.
100% true.
So I mean, I can neither confirm nor deny.
Sure.
But we'll see what happens the next time Blergh is hanging out with the BFGs.
Indeed.
Man, that's gonna leave some anticipation.
Some marks, as they say.
Oh yeah.
I also think one thing that is really interesting about that scene for Blergh, well, 2 things really, is The fucking scene with Venley was fucking hilarious. Because like the one thing that I did get a chance to do in the live show was have a scene with Venley, really. And so like getting to do that like fairly early on was really cool. But then to accentuate that with like, because one of the things that I as a player wanted to make sure that I left the table with is I springboarded like into something else. Like not like Blergh. I mean like in whatever way springboarded the BFGs into some way and like make an impact, you know? And I think I think he did.
I'd say for sure he did. Kira, excuse me, did also ask a couple of questions. And this was, you're back from the Feywild. Blergh's in Waterdeep. Sure so is. You're there now. What's the first thing Blergh should do while in Waterdeep?
So one of the things that was really fun about that scene was, or like realizing that, I think it was Dustin that was like, all right, well, you're in Waterdeep now, was I didn't know. I walked to the table that evening, like not knowing really what the exit plan was. I knew I was going to reveal the trophies, and like that was really it.
Yeah. Which was a super cool moment.
Thank you. Oh my God, I'm so happy with how that happened, and it was amazing. If we had like 10 more minutes, y'all would have. I had plans for y'all. Y'all would still be crying. But we were like, I know we were over, so like I was just like, I'm just gonna like sit on it, drop the bomb, and bounce. But I think he's going to see if there's an equivalent to the like the Tolos Delvers Guild and see what that looks like. I imagine that will probably end up being some sort of what's the because Force Grey is like the upper tier. I forgot what the lower tier was.
Gray Hands.
The Gray Hands. And I imagine like that will probably be where he'd spend some time. Because selfishly, as someone that's run Dragon Heist, like I just love the idea of Blergh and Vajra Safa here having a moment. Like I just love that idea like so much. Because I love that character so very much. And I also think he would just kind of like Batman. He would just like see who needs a hero, you know. Eventually, he'd find his way back to the BFGs at some point, I think.
Lauren did also ask, how soon can Blergh and Orkira go planes shopping together? Planes hopping together.
Motherfucking
plane shopping.
Plane shopping. Oh, yes. Look at this house in Eberron. No big deal. Yeah, 100%. I would be super down for that as soon as humanly possible, because I think they would have some really interesting conversations for sure.
Oh, 100%. Well, there you go, Lauren. So Blergh had some clutch moments combat-wise across both sessions, which was phenomenal. You've talked a little bit about what that was like for him. What was that like for you as a player?
Oh my God.
To get those?
I didn't sleep at all either night. Like at all. I was so... My problem with D&D, especially right now, with like, is my bar for really great sessions is if I have trouble sleeping. Like that's just like because you know, like you spend some time chilling and like coming down and like coming back to the real world and stuff like that. That doesn't happen for me because like I know like a lot of people have trouble like hearing their own voice and stuff like that. I am blessed enough to not have that problem. So I'll just like, so I'm literally like, it's, I don't know, 1 a.m. and I'm just watching like some of the episode already. Like I have a problem. It's the worst bedtime story ever. No, it felt incredible because but it was like, especially in the second episode where it was just utter bewilderment. Like I was like, look at my dice. What is happening? What is happening here? I don't even understand what is going on. But that's what's funny about Blergh is like he doesn't have like any context of how amazing he is, like at all. Yeah. He's just like, it's not even, humble's not even the right word. Like, but yeah, it felt awesome. And it's go ahead.
No, I was gonna say arguably that helped turn the tide in that second episode because it was
looking pretty
real dicey there.
Oh man.
At the as I was sitting there watching, I was just like, this could be an actual TPK here.
It was getting
real quick.
It was getting bad. Yeah.
We were closer than we had been in quite a while on that front.
Yeah, it was one more of those AoEs and
But that AoE was absolutely ridiculous. Yeah.
Oof. Yeah, it's,
and what's funny is I was that first round, I was pot shotting. I was like, this is the biggest target. That makes sense. And I was just like, that was the best decision I could have made. No doubt. I was just like, yeah, sure, I guess. Pew pew. So that was wild. I will say that I told the folks afterwards, I was so disheartened, as Blergh was so disheartened about what Seisha did. If she had not rolled a nat 20, 100% would have blood Curse of Alistair. No doubt about it. Absolutely. Which could have been an interesting dynamic. And even still, if we had more time, I would have absolutely had a conversation with Seisha of why did you do that? That hurt my feelings.
Yes.
Seisha's been through a lot.
Indeed. Me and Goblin have since conversated about said things.
Yeah. I think that was one thing that from my perspective as well, I did miss that interaction with Blergh and Seisha from an afterward perspective, because that was a shocking moment, not just for Blergh, but for a lot of the party too.
Sure.
Because that's really the first time she is living out her new oath in such a way where it is just, nope, there's no games here. It's done. So
I think that's going to be a lesson that Blergh will remember for a really long time.
Yeah. So what do you hope that each of the BFGs take from their interactions with Blergh?
Man, that's from his perspective, I think it's really simple. It's just continue to be awesome, and I hope you like your trophy. And you earned it. Truly, you earned this. You graduated. You didn't know you were in it. That's why he says you know you're in it, but you are, and you won. Congratulations, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, I hope that levity doesn't. Well, ironically, based off of what happens the following episode, wah. But I think I will answer with information that he has, which is information that I have, I guess, is that I hope that levity isn't just this temporary, that was a fun Feywild thing, and that kobold kid was super cool. Let's go back to grim dark awfulness. Would be the hope. But even in those dark moments, I think he'd hope that to help them get back to the light, if you will, that they think about him.
Yeah. I love it. Well, I'm sure that Blergh has left a lasting impression on the entire group. So I can't wait to see Blergh back again in whatever capacity that looks like.
Yeah, I'm just saying, ATL, King Jacob sounds fine. It sounds good.
That's a great callback.
Just embrace it, and
Amazing. That was a great reference. Oh man, Jacob, you should come up. You should move up here. And I was like, ATL King Jacob doesn't have the same ring, boo boos, but I love you anyway. And as I said then, it's just an hour flight, boo boos. I can come up.
Yeah. So I think, to me, it's Blergh is such you start in this, to me, I first introduced to Blergh and the Tolus stream that we did, and that the Friendship Admiration Society, if I remember correctly, and then
the Mutual Admiration Society.
That's right, the Mutual Admiration.
If you have not watched that clip, it is one of the funniest fucking things that's ever happened.
The Mass Effect. Ever. That's right.
The Mass Effect.
That's right. Yep, Jesus. That's right. The Mutual Admiration Society.
Because Mark didn't do it on purpose, but watch my face. The light bulb just boom, comes like
Yep.
we gotta do it.
It was so good.
I
And
love it.
then to go to the Best Friends Guild. I mean, you know.
I mean, give me a break. It's funny, he still doesn't know what BFGs means.
Nope. It's so good.
He still doesn't know.
So good.
That makes it even better.
Makes it even better.
Which is great because next time he introduces himself, he has a really long list of introductions.
Yeah.
It's fine with it though.
It's good. It's good. It's
I
good.
love it. Cool. We are close. Is there anything, Jacob, that you would want to add that we didn't get to, that you would really want to share with fans?
Other than, boy, if I had 10 more minutes, I would have had you all in the palm of my hands.
I wish we had 10 more minutes.
It's okay. I'm glad Catkins got her trophies. I did see that.
Yes. Yes.
And
He definitely got her trophy.
That is the thing that I will say is the only people that knew about the only 3 people knew about Harold getting a trophy, which were actually 4: Dustin, Devin, Goblin, because I was like, since everyone kept a secret from you, you'll get a secret from me.
Nice.
And then Jordan. And but nobody knew except for Jordan and the production crew that I bought more than one.
Yeah, that got me. I had no idea that, because I just knew. I was like, oh, you got one for Harold, ha ha ha. Nope.
Got him.
This bastard
No, it was
over here
amazing.
Got one for everybody.
But I want you to imagine your traditional fantasy shopkeeper and know that this, and shout out to the AAA trophy mark in Jacksonville, Florida on Beach Boulevard. When I walk in and I was like, so I have an odd request. And like, I'm literally sitting there, I'm like, I don't need to tell him about like Dungeons and Dragons or like what this is. So I just need like this thing, and this is what I needed to say. And then he made the mistake of asking for why. Because also the person in front of me was getting like baseball, like tournament trophies and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
I need one that says
cool.
Dungeon Master.
Yeah, he's just like, I need six of them.
Yep.
Okay, from Blergh. What's Blergh? Well, have a seat. Let me tell you about my buddy.
Yeah.
He was just like, okay, man, sure. It's like, here you go. It's like $13 a pop. And I was like, that's way less expensive than I thought it was going to be. Great.
Let me tell you this thing about Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, it was amazing.
You've planted a seed. Blergh's even working even in the overtime, even in the real world.
Yep.
It was done like the next day. Like I was just like, you're magic. He's a little unhappy that I was like, I'm leaving in like 2 days. Can you do it in 2.5 days?
Yeah.
It's okay. So I'll leave you with that.
Well, awesome. Well, I know we're all looking forward to seeing Blergh again. Whether that's here or across the multiverse.
You never know.
So, who knows? Thank you both for joining me this evening, and thank you, viewers, for tuning in. We appreciate you. We hope that this has been a fun conversation where you've got a little bit more insight into the lovable cinnamon roll that is Blergh, and a little bit more insight from our DMs on just how much prep goes into a live show and the chaos that can ensue and the fun that can be had in that chaos.
Indeed.
So, thanks everyone. Don't forget to tune in this coming Sunday. And hey, Sunday's coming. So see you folks.